After being transmigrated, you joined a duo wilderness survival reality show. While the other contestants chose initial gear like folding shovels and compasses. You went straight for a broken fishing rod that no one else cared about. Netizens all thought you were just grandstanding. You have to understand, without a boat to go out to sea, a fishing rod is pretty much the most useless tool there is. However, as the strongest wild fishing king on Earth in your past life, you weren't the least bit worried. After choosing your tool, you looked over at your teammate, Zhao Xinqing. You saw her hesitate for a moment before she chose something that also no one wanted, a bag filled with seeds. Seeing this, the live comments started scrolling even more frantically. One picks a fishing rod, the other picks seeds. This is priceless. I'll bet a pack of spicy sticks they'll both be eliminated in less than a week. But you ignored the comments and instead began to carefully observe your current environment. This was a vast, untouched island, with a forest that remained in its most primal state. As soon as you entered, you could feel the muggy air on your face. The dense jungle was difficult to walk through. On top of that, it was a slippery downhill section of a coastal mountain range. You and Zhao Xinqing helped each other along the way, so you actually made decent time. Along the way, there were a couple of close physical contacts that made both you and Zhao Xinqing blush a little. But you both had to pretend not to notice. Zhao Xinqing was already a Ph.D. At only 20 years old. Her knowledge was extensive, and she was not at all unfamiliar with the current environment. From time to time, she would make a new discovery. Look, a wild huntsman spider. Don't be scared. Even though this huntsman spider looks big, it's actually very gentle and rarely attacks people unprovoked. A large, hairy spider crawled up Zhao Xinqing's arm. This immediately triggered a wave of screams in the live comments. Look over there, a millipede. Better not to touch it. A millipede's secretions are toxic. What can you say? A Ph.D. is a Ph.D. The wild fishing king learned a lot of useless new knowledge from the doctor. But soon, your own luck came knocking. The gurgling sound of flowing water drifted over from a distance. Your eyes instantly lit up. Just as I thought, it's easy to find a stream on the face of a coastal mountain range. And by following the stream, you can find a sufficiently large body of water. Where there's water, there are fish. You squeeze the unextended fishing rod in your hand, leading Zhao Xinqing through a thicket of trees and down a slippery, low slope. The view suddenly opened up. Sure enough, a meandering stream was flowing on the ground. In the live stream chat, which had been a bit sparse, the comments instantly flooded in. Holy crap, he was right. They found water just like that. Could it be that luck is also a part of skill? While reading the comments, you crouched down, cupped a handful of water from the stream, took a sip, and immediately spat it out. It's a little salty, not much, but it's best we don't drink it. Seeing you get up to leave, Zhao Xinqing hesitated and asked in a low voice. Can we really not drink it? It's so hot and stuffy in the jungle, and we're sweating a lot from all the walking. Her once rosy lips were now a bit dry. You turned to look at her and explained patiently. We're too close to the coast here. It's perfectly normal for the water to have some salt in it. If we were desperate, this level of saltiness is drinkable. But there's definitely more fresh water further downstream. Besides, this is untreated water. If we have a choice, it's always better to boil it before drinking. Hearing this, Zhao Xinqing nodded. Okay, I'll listen to you. We won't drink it for now. It had only been 2 hours since they set out. Although she felt thirsty, it was still bearable. Meanwhile, the live comments were still buzzing with discussion. Susie's survival experience seems pretty extensive. Oh no, could it be that the streamer is a hidden expert? As the heat bore down, you and Zhao Xinqing lost a lot of sweat and grew increasingly thirsty. You even started to feel dizzy and had no time to pay attention to the live stream. You just focused on moving forward. The two of you followed the stream downwards for another 2 hours. Then, you saw a steep slope. The sound of rushing water was coming from the bottom of it. Your eyes lit up as you peered forward, and sure enough, you saw a small waterfall. Below the waterfall was a deep pool. Your spirits lifted, and you led Zhao Xinqing down from the waterfall, walking down the slippery rocks beside it. Can we drink this now? Zhao Xinqing spoke, only then realizing her voice was surprisingly hoarse and dry. You took a sip, nodded, and said, yes, it's fresh water. The rock strata and soil are natural filters. That's why the water upstream is slightly brackish, but the water in this pool downstream is fresh. Zhao Xinqing was overjoyed. Just as she was about to lean over the edge of the pool to drink, you stopped her. What is it now? Zhao Xinqing sounded aggrieved. She was so thirsty. Just then, you pointed to the edge of the pool and said, look, what's that? Zhao Xinqing looked up. By the edge of the pool stood a tall coconut tree. At the same time, the live comments were torn between laughter and tears. There's a huge pool of water right in front of you. Don't tell me you're going to pick coconuts instead? That tree must be over 10 meters tall. No way a rich kid like you knows how to climb a tree. Drink coconuts? Zhao Xinqing looked at you, her tone uncertain. You nodded and said, coconut water is absolutely safe. Raw water, not so much. Especially raw water in this humid jungle. Might contain pathogenic bacteria and viruses. I just tasted it, and the water quality is very clear and sweet. The risk is there, but it's relatively low. If this were the wild fishing king Subai from my past life, I would have dared to drink directly from this pool. But this body, and Zhao Xinqing, are clearly not tough enough. When we have a choice, it's better to drink coconut water. Zhao Xinqing looked at the tall coconut tree and asked pitifully, but it's so high. You walked to the base of the coconut tree and searched around for a bit. Finally, you picked up 4 fully ripened coconuts from the ground and handed them to Zhao Xinqing. These are ripe coconuts, we can only drink one each. Although the milky white juice inside is richer in nutrients and electrolytes, drinking too much will cause diarrhea. What we really need are the green coconuts. Zhao Xinqing took them, only half understanding. She took the 4 ripe coconuts from your hands and asked, how is one enough to drink? You first found a sharp piece of rock on the ground, then found a thick stone slab and handed it to Zhao Xinqing, saying, use this sharp stone as a nail, and this thick stone as a hammer. Try to keep the coconut shell as intact as possible. You crack the coconuts, I'll go get the green ones. The live chat exploded in an instant. Mom, come quick, the rich kid's gonna climb a tree. After you fall to your death, can I inherit your credit card debt in Zhao Xinqing? The coconut tree was tall and large, with a straight trunk, making it one of the most difficult types of trees to climb. Even Ed Stafford and Bear Grylls never climb coconut trees. But you just looked at the comments and chuckled, I'm not climbing it. You all might have forgotten that I still have a fishing rod. As you spoke, you took the fishing rod you'd been holding and waved it in front of the drone camera, with a coconut tree in front of me and a pool of water behind me. You were noticeably more talkative now. This fishing rod can extend over 30 meters. A mere coconut tree is no problem. With that, you began to extend the fishing rod. The rod, originally 1.6 meters long, rapidly extended in your hands. Soon, half of it was out. You locked the clasp, fixing the rod at this length. Sure enough, it could reach the green coconuts at the top of the tree. You stared intently at the tip of your fishing rod and said, watch closely. The connection point between the coconut and the branch. There's a very weak spot near the coconut. As long as you find the right spot. With a sharp crack, you forcefully flicked the tip of the rod, whipping it with precision like a lash. Right against the bottom of a green coconut. The green coconut fell on cue. You flashed a victor's smile at the drone camera. As long as you find the right spot, you can get it in one hit. Zhao Xinqing was still squatting to the side, trying to crack open a coconut. Seeing you actually knock the green coconuts down, her beautiful eyes sparkled with wonder as she smashed with even more vigor. The live comments started rolling in. Is that really how you use a fishing rod? To accurately hit a single spot with a rod that's over 10 meters long, isn't that way too difficult? You looked at the live comments and smiled without a word. To the next king of wild fishing. You had long since reached a state where man and rod were one. Hitting a few coconuts was nothing. With that, a series of crisp cracks echoed from the edge of the pool. One by one, the green coconuts fell to the ground, the thick husks making a dull sloshing sound. By the time you reeled in the rod and stood up, there wasn't a single coconut left on that tree. Nearby, Zhao Xinqing had just cracked open a ripe coconut and taken a sip, only to see you had completely stripped the tree bare. She hesitated for a moment, then got up and trotted over, holding the cracked ripe coconut out to you and whispering. You worked hard. You drink first. You didn't bother with pleasantries and took the ripe coconut. You downed the whole thing in a few big gulps. Zhao Xinqing couldn't help but stare with wide eyes. She licked her lips and whispered, is it good? You immediately let out a burp and uttered 2 words. So sweet. Is the coconut sweet, or is Dr. Zhao's mouth sweet? Damn, I didn't even notice until you guys said it. That was an indirect kiss. That damn Subai gets away with everything. The live chat exploded with teasing. Zhao Xinqing only glanced at the comments before her pretty face flushed bright red. You just chuckled, unfazed. Then, you took the 2 rocks from Zhao Xinqing's hands and said, I'll smash the coconuts. You go find some tough vines. We'll weave a basket later. Zhao Xinqing just said oh, and, with her face red and head down, she jogged over to the nearby woods to look for vines. After that, you cracked 6 coconuts in a row and gave 3 to Zhao Xinqing when she returned. Then, you scooped out some milky white flesh from a coconut and threaded it onto the fishhook. You were preparing to start fishing, and the attention of the live chat followed suit. Your every move was watched. Can there really be fish in this pool? Using coconut meat as bait? Does he really know how to fish? You looked at the comments on the tablet, smiled, and said, when you're fishing in the wild, the key is using what's available. Because the bait you can easily find is also the food these fish normally get to eat. I get the logic, but... Streamer, are you sure the fish in this pool normally eat coconuts? This streamer's stupidity is making me cry. The coconut shell is so thick, even a shark would find it a pain to bite. You sighed at the ignorance in the live chat. Nature has its own cycles. This coconut tree is growing right by the pool. That means the fish in the pool definitely can eat coconuts every now and then. Besides that, have you guys ever heard of something called the coconut crab? It's the largest type of crab, and it feeds on coconuts. What do coconut crabs have to do with the fish in the pool? Don't tell me coconut crabs live in the pool, too. If I remember correctly, besides laying eggs, they spend the rest of their time on land. As you poured the contents of a cracked, ripe coconut into a corner of the pool near the waterfall, you asked, then do you all know how coconut crabs eat coconuts? Is that even a question? They use their pincers to crack them open, obviously. A coconut crab's pincer can snap a person's finger. They're incredibly strong, but you shook your head and said, that's not it. Most common method coconut crabs use is to carry a coconut up a tree, climb to the very top, and then drop it. They keep dropping the same coconut over and over until the shell finally cracks and exposes the meat. If you look carefully at this patch of ground, the soil near the woods is very thick. There are also dead branches and fallen leaves that provide a lot of cushioning. The only hard ground is the rock by the pool, and the crown of the coconut tree happens to be diagonally above this rock. You adjusted the drone's camera. This allowed the audience in the live stream to see the coconut tree directly above you. They followed the camera's view and saw that it was indeed true. And, just as you said, this large rock by the pool is the only place where a coconut crab could smash a coconut shell open. With that, it's only natural that some of the smashed coconut would fall into the waterhole. The live chat was instantly dumbfounded. Wait, what did you do before all this? How do you know so much? I just love watching the streamer completely school the chat. The streamer's knowledge is just so extensive. You let out a small laugh. Alright, I'm done talking. Don't want to startle the fish. After you said this final sentence, you then stuck out your index finger and drew something on the ground beneath your feet, as if tracing some kind of symbol. Then, you stepped right on top of it. You had now entered the state of Suzy, the wild fishing king. It was as if your entire being had become one with the heavy fishing rod in your hands. Your eyes seemed to be half closed, but all of your attention was focused on the fishing float. After just a few minutes, as you watched, your float dipped slightly. You were instantly energized, your eyes wide open, but your body remained as motionless as a stone statue. This was a fish in the pool testing your bait, but it hadn't taken the hook yet. At this moment, you absolutely could not lift the rod. Otherwise, if you scared the fish, trying to catch it again today would be extremely difficult. To be honest, you could barely hold the rod in your hands anymore. This body was seriously out of shape, and the fishing rod in your hands, which could extend to 34 meters, was a weight that a normal person could hardly handle. When an ordinary person fishes with a 7 or 8 meter rod, their arms will go sore and numb after holding it for a while. If you had the physical constitution of the wild fishing king from your past life, you could naturally control this rod with ease. But right now, your arm isn't even a third as thick as it was in your past life. After holding it for just this short time, it was already starting to show signs of trembling. You knew that this was the most crucial moment. You absolutely had to hold steady. Otherwise, your dinner would get away. Relying on the experience and endurance brought by your transmigration, you forcefully kept the rod in your hands perfectly still, going beyond your body's limits. There wasn't the slightest tremble. Just then, the float suddenly sank heavily downwards. Fish on. A glint flashed in your eyes as you lifted the rod in your hand upwards. The movement was extremely fast, but very small, only about half an inch. Afterwards, you lowered the rod again. Someone in the live chat who knew how to fish exclaimed, "That hook setting technique is so expert. I'm starting to believe the streamer really is the wild fishing king." Putting everything else aside, just the fact that the streamer can hold that rod for so long is something an ordinary person could never do. People who haven't personally handled this type of rod can't even imagine that kind of weight. The so-called hook setting is when you jerk the rod the instant the fish bites the hook. The speed must be fast and the force sharp. But the range of motion absolutely cannot be too large. The purpose of setting the hook is to make it pierce deeply into the fish's lips so it can't struggle free. If the speed and force aren't enough, you won't achieve the desired effect. And if the movement is too large, it will cause the line to break. This maneuver, precise down to the millimeter, can fully display the depth of an angler's skill. The curve of the rod in your hand had already changed from its original natural arc to a much more pronounced curve. Clearly, something on the other end of the rod was fighting you. As you and the fish battled through the line, the fish was dragged up from the bottom bit by bit. A series of splashes erupted on the water's surface. That was the fish, struggling frantically. Zhao Xinqing's surprised and delighted voice came from behind you. "You really caught a fish." Dr. Zhao ran back quickly, carrying a bundle of vines. She looked into the waterhole, her eyes full of anticipation. But just then, you suddenly frowned and said in a low voice, "Something's not right with this fish. Why does it have legs?" Amidst the splashing water, you could clearly see two short, stubby hind legs flailing and struggling wildly. You immediately frowned and asked, "We're not in China, are we?" Zhao Xinqing shook her head. "No, this deserted island doesn't belong to any country." Only then did you breathe a sigh of relief. "That'll do." Meanwhile, the live comments started popping up with follow-up questions. "What on earth is that fish? I saw legs. Could it be a turtle?" You glanced at the live comments on Zhao Xinqing's tablet and casually replied, "This is a giant salamander, commonly known as a dollfish. In Shenzhou, it's illegal to catch wild giant salamanders. Otherwise, you'd rot in jail. However, we're not in Shenzhou, so it's okay to catch it. Holy crap, what kind of luck is this? A legendary golden tier catch on the very first cast. Streamer, why aren't you reeling it in yet? Hurry up and let us see what the legendary dollfish looks like. The splashing on the water's surface was clearly much less than before. The giant salamander you hooked must have been exhausted. At this point, you said calmly, don't rush it. You have to let the giant salamander tire itself out for a while longer. When it feels threatened, the glands on the giant salamander's skin secrete a foul-smelling substance. This is to repel predators. Letting it expel all those secretions will make it taste better. The slime on its skin will also be reduced. You let the giant salamander tire itself out in the water for nearly 5 minutes. Only then did you manage to lift it out of the water. The giant salamander was rock gray all over, with a large, flat head. Its 4 limbs were short and stout, and it was hideous. As soon as it was out of the water, it made a sound like a baby crying. Zhao Xinqing stood nearby holding a rock, ready for action. She asked nervously, should I smash its head? Giant salamanders look really vicious. They bite, don't they? You shook your head and said, not yet. Let's see if it's male or female, and if it has eggs in its belly. If it's a female with eggs, we'll let it go. The live chat couldn't help but be a little speechless. Who cares about that in a survival situation? I suggest you watch more of Ed Stafford's videos. Seeing this, you casually explained, we're not going to be short on food, so we can afford to be selective. Such a simple sentence, yet it was filled with powerful confidence. Come on, aren't you being a little arrogant? Even Bear Grylls and Ed Stafford wouldn't dare say they were guaranteed not to lack food before starting out. The person above, Bear Grylls and Ed Stafford are survival experts, but that doesn't mean they're better than everyone else in the single category of finding food. The hunter, Lindsay, also told his partner that they wouldn't be short on food before they set out. You used the fish hook to hold the giant salamander's mouth, making sure the ferocious carnivore couldn't attack you. Only then did you lift its tail, take a look, and say, it's a male. Zhao Xinqing came closer and asked curiously, how can you tell? As a zoology Ph.D., Zhao Xinqing had a strong desire to learn. So, while holding its tail, you explained, around the male's cloaca, there are some small, milky white bumps. Zhao Xinqing understood immediately. The live comments, however, went completely off the rails. Wait a minute, that shape looks a bit like a certain mysterious fleshlight. Listen to me, I have a bold idea. The live chat erupted in laughter again. Meanwhile, with a swift strike of the stone, you killed the giant salamander. After setting it aside, you began weaving a rattan basket with Zhao Xinqing. Like a spiderweb, first you set up the vertical spokes. Then you weave the rattan horizontally around them. Yes, just like that. We'll use these vines and coconut shells to carry some fresh water. At this point, the live chat, still wanting more, asked, you're not fishing anymore? Go on for a little longer. To this, you shook your head and said, the giant salamander's scent glands will affect this area. It will stop other fish in the water from biting. We probably won't catch anything else if we keep fishing, so let's not waste time. We need to find a place to set up camp before dark. As they watched you and Zhao Xinqing weaving the rattan basket, the live chat started talking amongst themselves. Did the hunter, Lindsay, also say he wouldn't be short on food before starting? How's he doing now? Does he have more supplies than the millionaires group? Soon, another comment answered the question. Reliable intel, bros. The hunter Lindsay's only piece of equipment is a slingshot. He's already got 4 squirrels, 2 birds, and a snake tied to his waist. But they still haven't found water. Lindsay is getting anxious now. Wait, did Lindsay choose a slingshot? Why doesn't the production team give us bows and arrows? Seeing this question, you answered casually. If there were bows and arrows, I'd pick them too. They're pretty much the pinnacle of cold weapons. If an old hunter like Lindsay had a bow and arrow, he'd instantly become the most terrifying predator on this deserted island. The rest of us would basically have no hope of winning. Huh? You're so good at fishing, but you'd still choose a bow and arrow? You chuckled, waving the vine in your hand, and said, I can catch big ones with this thing too. But I can't fight a tiger with this thing. Peeved, we give you one compliment and you start showing off. I don't believe you can catch a big fish with a vine. You looked at the live comments and chuckled. If you don't believe me, I'll show you when I have the chance. I once used local materials on the banks of the Nile. I made a hook and line, tied it to a dead branch, and caught a crocodile. When it comes to bragging, the streamer is the best. Nile crocodiles can grow up to 700 kilograms. Yeah, right, keep bragging. If you can really catch one, I'll eat my computer. You stopped chatting with the live comments, and the vine in your hands was quickly woven into a basket. Afterwards, you submerged the empty coconuts in a pool of water, filling them with fresh water. Then, you plugged the smashed open holes with dry leaves and placed them upright in the basket. The fresh water from 6 coconuts was very heavy. As soon as you put the basket on your back, you felt your body sink. Moving through the jungle was already difficult, and after half a day, you were already exhausted. With the added weight of the 6 coconuts, your legs suddenly felt weak, and you could barely walk. And the live chat immediately spotted your weakness and started mocking you at full blast. With that kind of stamina, you think you can go to the Nile and fish for crocodiles? You can barely take 2 steps. Are you trying to deliver yourself as a meal for the crocodiles? Zhao Xinqing watched your stumbling figure from behind and said with a bit of concern. Subai, let's weave another basket. I can help you carry half. No need, just hold the fishing rod and our dinner for me. You handed the heavy fishing rod and the big fish to Zhao Xinqing. Are you really sure you're okay? Zhao Xinqing followed behind you, her pretty face filled with worry. As long as there's enough food, I can properly train this body. There are still many hard days to come. You knew from deep experience just how tough real wilderness survival can be. In your past life, as the king of wild fishing, you had only attempted such harsh wilderness survival a handful of times. Ever since then, whenever you went wild fishing, you'd drive an off-road vehicle and bring a shotgun and 4 dogs. But now, you had nothing except a pretty girl. Thinking about it that way, it didn't seem like such a bad deal. You glanced again at Zhao Xinqing's beautiful, sweat-covered face beside you. And your mood instantly brightened up again. As you were busy traveling and not looking at the live comments, you started talking to the stream on your own. So where are my scouts? We are too lazy to go switch between streams. How are the other 4 teams from the Shenzhou nation doing? Here, a report from the front lines. The hunter team still hasn't found water and they're dying of thirst. The Soldier King team set up camp and started a fire by the water. They spent over 20 minutes collecting seashells on the beach. The army doctor, Shen Xiaoyue, spent a lot of time gathering medicinal herbs along the way, so her progress has been very slow. However, she found a birch tree and used her entrenching tool to get some sap, so she's not short on water for the time being. Meanwhile, the survival expert team is still on the beach collecting seashells. 4.5 hours after the show began, the members of Shenzhou Nation's Team 4 finally straightened their aching backs on the beach. Look at all these seashells. And 2 abalones and a sea cucumber. Who was it that said Wang, would go hungry on this show? A slightly chubby young man with a huge, excited smile on his face pointed to a large pile of seafood on the beach. He addressed the drone's camera, clearly showing off. He was the member of Team 4 known as Wang, the survival expert. The wilderness survival scene in the Shenzhou nation had always been pretty lukewarm. If there were any celebrities in the field, it would be this survival expert Wang from Team 4. Peng Peng, and camping guru Luo Zuner, with the full promotional backing of their respective teams. In the videos they produced themselves, they appeared to be incredibly and uniquely skilled. His fans have even hyped him up to be an invincible being who could take down Ed Stafford and Bear Grylls. Over time, Wang Peng and Luo Zuner seemed to have gotten used to life in the spotlight. Just as Wang Peng was looking at the tablet in his hand, ready to bask in the adoration from his viewers. Suddenly, a huge wave of comments flooded in, pushing his viewer count from 300,000 to 330,000. Subai says if you don't head into the jungle soon, you're going to die of thirst. Why are you guys still on the beach? My god. Wang Peng was stunned for a moment. Subai, that loser rich kid? On what grounds do you people think some rich kid gets to tell me, Wang Peng, how to survive in the wild? Didn't you see how much Luo Zuner and I have harvested? Wang Peng deliberately aimed the drone's camera at the pile of seashells he had gathered on the beach. And the comments flooding in from your stream asked one after another. I'm just asking, are you thirsty or not? Are you and Luo Zuner planning to drink seawater? Subai's right, a noob collecting shells. Hey noob, I came to see you. You had never actually said a noob collecting shells, but the viewers didn't care. As far as they were concerned, you had. Hearing this, Wang Peng instantly flew into a rage. Before he got famous from his wilderness survival streams, he was just an ordinary college student. Wilderness survival had given him everything he had now. It gave him a handsome income of nearly $1 million a year. He would absolutely not allow anyone in the wilderness survival field to call him a noob. I'm a noob? You're calling me a noob? Wang Peng's furious roar echoed across the beach. His face was flushed with anger as he growled, Mods, where are the mods? Mods, ban all of these trolls who are flooding my stream to stir up trouble. Ban anyone who calls me a noob. The chat immediately erupted in laughter. Impotent rage, ha ha ha, he's triggered, he's so triggered. Just as Wang Peng was stomping his feet in anger, a slightly effeminate voice came from behind him. What's wrong? Look at how mad you are. Luo Zuner walked into Wang Peng's camera shot from behind. He was holding a starfish in his left hand, waving it at the camera as he said in a cheerful tone. It's a great harvest today. Don't tell me people are even flaming you for this? Luo Zuner was a slender young man with a tinfoil perm, dark skin, and bluish dark circles under his eyes. His eyes were listless, as if he could never get enough sleep. Like Wang Peng, he was also from Shenzhou, a well-known wilderness survival streamer in the country. He was a natural when it came to live streams and videos. As if he had found an ally, Wang Peng let out 2 deliberately exaggerated laughs, then pointed at the camera and said to Luo Zuner behind him. A bunch of viewers from that rich kid's stream came over and said we're noobs. It's hilarious. Luo Zuner tossed the starfish in his hand onto the pile of shells and also looked at his own tablet. Sure enough, some viewers who had flooded in from your stream were also mocking him in his chat. So he said sarcastically, I and Wang Peng are the twin stars of wilderness survival in our country. In our nation's lineup this time, besides the top soldier, he and I should securely hold the second and third spots. Our opponents are Bear Grylls and Ed Stafford. Please do not mention a rich kid in the same breath as us. As Luo Zuner spoke, he also wiped the sticky sweat from his forehead, unconsciously licking his dry lips. The fans the two had previously gathered also started to fight back. Then go watch your rich kid. What are you doing spamming here? If that rich kid can survive in the wild for 10 days, I'll eat my keyboard. But the newly arrived fans shot back without missing a beat. Have you had any water? What are you planning to drink? Don't lick your lips if you're so tough. Seeing these comments, the expression on Luo Zuner's face froze. Crap, he'd been so excited about gathering shells earlier that he had completely forgotten about that little detail. Having made wilderness survival videos for so long, Luo Zuner knew a thing or two about survival. She knew perfectly well how important water was, but she'd subconsciously overlooked the fact that there wasn't just no fresh water on the beach. And the fact that they would sweat at an astonishing rate, because when they filmed videos before, although Luo Zuner was the only one on screen, his team would have everything prepared. In a corner out of the camera's view, there would be over a dozen cases of mineral water in the supply vehicle for them to use. What really pleased the audience and made the videos go viral were the large prey. The strange and bizarre foods that the streamer claimed were delicious. After filming these kinds of videos for so long, as soon as Wang and Luo Zuner landed on the beach, they were captivated by the dazzling array of seashells. On the other side, Wang's initially angry roar had now gradually faded away. The two of them exchanged a subtle glance, and both saw the annoyance in the other's eyes. What the bullet comments were saying was right. They really needed to find water. If they couldn't find water, the two of them might not even make it through the night. Wang suddenly let out a cold laugh. It's just water, isn't it? In my eyes, and Luo Zuner's, how can water be a problem? After speaking, his gaze quickly scanned. She began searching quickly along the edge of the jungle, praying to herself as she went. Coconuts, coconuts please, let there be a coconut tree. As long as there's one coconut tree, I can shut down all the comments. His expression slowly darkened. This was such a huge beach. Yet there wasn't a single coconut tree. The commenters also noticed Wang's gradually changing expression. Mockery instantly filled the screen. Are you looking for coconuts? Don't bother looking. I've already checked for you. There are no coconut trees on this beach. The two streamers, their faces filled with embarrassment, pretended to focus their attention on other things, trying to steer the tone of the comments. But without a moderator's help, this tactic was clearly useless. The comments, knowing they wouldn't be banned, became even more vicious. Meanwhile, on the other side, Yu and Zhao Xinqing had moved some distance away from the stream, carefully observing the surroundings along the way. Suddenly, Yu stopped. Let's do it here. Yu looked at a large tree nearby, then looked down at the terrain. This place is good, Yu said thoughtfully. Zhao Xinqing nodded as if she half understood. She put down the back basket, glanced down at the bullet comments, and noticed the malicious people had already started their attacks. What's so good about this place? I don't see how this place is any good. Streamer, stop pretending you know it all. Choosing a bad campsite can get you killed. Dr. Zhao got really angry seeing these comments. But Yu just glanced at the comments and pointed at the ground, sighing. This spot is on a sunny slope, with many small trees to block the wind. It's some distance from the water, so there will be relatively fewer mosquitoes. Since the slope is sunny, the humidity is lower. Materials for a fire are easier to find, and with a large tree nearby, there are also more dead branches and fallen leaves. Also, I never said Wang was a noob. Those comments that had been flaming non-stop were silenced by your few words. But your fans immediately jumped up and retorted sarcastically. Keep flaming. Why did you stop? Is the spot our streamer picked not professional enough for you? You little noobs who are fans of those two noob streamers, watch carefully and learn something. You can't comprehend the world of the rich. Seeing the atmosphere in the stream return to normal, you nodded in satisfaction. Then, you put down the tablet and asked Zhao Xinqing, do you know how to braid rope from tree bark? Zhao Xinqing was stunned for a moment, then nodded repeatedly. I do, but I have this. As she spoke, she pulled out a handful of thin, slender, green leaves from her back basket. These are sisal leaves. The tip has a sharp, reddish-brown spine. The fibers of the leaf connected to the spine are straight and tough, making it a natural needle and thread. It's also an excellent material for twisting rope. I can twist a rope in 2 minutes, Zhao Xinqing said, then found a random spot to sit down. She then began to twist rope from the sisal leaves. Her small hands moved as nimbly as butterflies flitting through flowers. Flipping it over and over, a rope quickly appeared between her fingers, growing from short to long at a rapid pace. You watched for a moment and realized that when it came to the single skill of rope making, you really had nothing to teach Zhao Xinqing. So, you lowered your head and started searching carefully on the ground. Soon, you had gathered a few stones. As you picked them up, you explained to the drone camera behind you. Although this is a sun-facing slope, there are a lot of fallen leaves on the ground, and the soil is still a bit damp. If you want to make a fire by friction in this kind of environment, you first need a dry base. Otherwise, all your effort could easily go to waste. You pointed to a flat-faced stone in your hand. Dry, flat slab of stone, and said, on a sun-facing slope. Finding a dry slab like this that's been baked by the sun is a relatively easy task. After we have a dry base, we'll also need 2 relatively dry pieces of wood. You looked up at the large tree beside you and reached out to adjust the drone's live camera. You framed the high canopy in the shot. Now, in a damp environment like this, finding dry wood for a fire drill is extremely difficult. The best option isn't on the ground, but up in the sky. What we're looking for are dead branches that have broken off a bough, but have been caught by other branches and leaves instead of falling to the ground, allowing them to get plenty of sunlight during the day. You pointed up to the canopy of the large tree. Through the leaves and branches, you could faintly see a short branch, about the thickness of a forearm, wedged between 2 boughs. It had no leaves, and its angle was different from the other boughs. It was clearly a dead branch that had broken off some time ago. This requires a bit of luck, and it's one of the reasons I chose to set up camp here. As you spoke, you began to extend your fishing rod. Getting a branch down from this high up requires a certain technique. Watch. I'll extend the fishing line, and then make a lasso near the rod, similar to a snare trap you'd use to catch rabbits in the wild. You tied a slip knot at the end of the line, demonstrating for the camera. Once I get this around the branch, I'll pull the end of the line from down here. The lasso will tighten, securing it, and then I can pull the branch down. Hearing your explanation, the live chat erupted with excitement. An expert. This is definitely an expert. This ability to adapt and be flexible based on the situation is absolutely impossible without a massive amount of accumulated knowledge. Anyone else who disagrees, step up. Hey, you fans of what's his name? Your streamer can't even compete with a rich kid, huh? While you were using the fishing rod and line to snare the high branch. That dry branch, Zhao Xinqing had already finished weaving a grass rope. The rope in her hands was over 1 meter long, which should be enough for the fire drill. Zhao Xinqing thought for a moment, put down the grass rope, and began searching around the area. She quickly found a branch with a natural curve to it. The branch was about as thick as a middle finger, and just as expected, it was very damp to the touch. If you were to use this kind of branch for the friction part of a fire drill, you could probably drill for a lifetime and never generate enough heat. But its curve makes it an excellent material for a bow drill. There are different ways to make fire by friction. The most basic method is rubbing a stick between your palms. This way is extremely difficult. Even survival experts can easily rub the skin off their palms raw without producing a single spark. In a damp environment like this one, that method is even more out of the question. Another, more common method is the bow drill. In addition to the spindle and the fireboard, you also need a grass rope and a curved branch. You tie the grass rope to both ends of the curved branch to form a bow. Then, you wrap the rope around the friction spindle. And by pulling the bow back and forth, you can make the spindle rotate and generate heat through friction. This is a more efficient way to make fire by friction. When you asked Zhao Xinqing to weave the grass rope, she already knew you were planning to use this method to start a fire in the damp conditions. It took you about 5 minutes to finally snare that dead branch in the tree and pull it down bit by bit. And Zhao Xinqing used this time to not only assemble the bow drill, but also gather some dry leaves and small twigs from the ground. After a full day under the sun, these things felt relatively dry to the touch. If they could manage to light a small fire with these dry leaves and toothpick-sized twigs, then even the larger, damper pieces of firewood could be successfully ignited by the flame's heat. You and Zhao Xinqing split up in the woods to find some suitable firewood. As expected, the firewood you could find on the ground felt damp to the touch. At least the part touching the ground was damp. Alright, let's get started. This is enough firewood to last us a night. You had Zhao Xinqing sit across from you and instructed her seriously. Even with all these favorable conditions, if I were here alone, I most likely wouldn't choose to start a fire tonight because it's just too difficult. But there are 2 of us. Making a fire with a bow drill is much easier with 2 people than with 1. The most important part of making a fire with a bow drill is building up enough heat between the 2 pieces of wood. Once you have an ember, you can ignite the tinder. Most failures happen because a person's upper arm muscles often can't provide enough endurance to build up enough heat. But with 2 of us, we can take turns. The moment I get tired, you take over. Let's try to get it on the first go. Zhao Xinqing listened intently, but just then, someone in the live chat suddenly spoke up to stop you. Hold on, are you stupid? You forgot something really important, didn't you? What about tinder? Without tinder, are you just going to light the wood directly with an ember? You're so unreliable. You act like some kind of expert, but you don't even know the most basic things? You took a closer look and recognized several of the names. Sure enough, it was trolls from Wang and Luo Zuners. Stream making trouble again. So-called tinder is just fine, dry material used to start a fire. It needs to have a large surface area exposed to the air, otherwise, the ember produced by the bow drill alone won't be able to ignite the wood directly. The most classic tinder is a bundle of dry grass. Bird nests and wood shavings can also make good tinder, but precisely because their surface area is so large, tinder absorbs moisture very easily. Once it's damp, it's useless. But in an environment like this, where could you possibly find tinder? You chuckled softly. Calmly, you took out a handful of fluffy, dark black material from your back basket. Then, holding it in your hand, you grinned mischievously at the camera and said, "Take a look." "What's this?" The chat was silent for a moment before someone hesitantly typed, "Is that coconut husk?" The husk from a ripe coconut is fluffy and dry. Once peeled off, it can serve as excellent tinder. Back when you were at the pool, you'd already gone ahead and peeled some husks off those ripe coconuts and carried them all the way here. And because you and Zhao Xinqing had been traveling along the stream, the ample sunlight had been shining into your back basket, evaporating any residual moisture from the coconut husks the whole way. Now, holding these husks, you could feel that they were satisfyingly dry. "That's right, this is my tinder." In front of a flickering computer screen, a middle-aged, overweight man cried out in anger. His fat hand slammed down hard on his ash-covered computer desk. How is this Suzy so prepared for everything? Why is a rich kid so good at wilderness survival? This trembling, middle-aged man was none other than the troll who had come from Wang's livestream to lurk in your stream. As one of Wang Peng's die-hard fans, the man couldn't stand anyone calling the streamer he supported a noob. But after watching the stream for the past few hours, you had seemingly predicted everything, looking just like a grandmaster of wilderness survival. Every single one of his taunts had been brutally shut down by you with facts. Even through the distance of the internet, the middle-aged man could still feel his own. Your cheeks flushed bright red and burned, as if they'd just been slapped. Meanwhile, on the live stream, as you rapidly drew the bow drill with your right hand, the wooden spindle spun relentlessly against the fireboard. Wisps of smoke started to rise from the wood, where the two pieces made contact, and the bullet comments instantly exploded with excitement. It's smoking, bros. I have it on good authority that he's the first one out of the 100 contestants to successfully make fire. You have to remember, even Ed and Bear gave up on making fire today. Brother Suzy, you're my idol for life. You weren't distracted by the comments, continuing to rapidly pull the bow drill. As the spindle spun faster, the billowing smoke grew thicker. Zhao Xinqing couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes and whisper, "There's still no fire?" "But there's so much smoke." You just shook your head and said quietly, "The smoke is thick because of the dampness. I'm almost done for you. Take over in a second. I'll hold it down for you." You just pull with one hand, and whatever you do, don't stop. Zhao Xinqing, her face tense with nervousness, nodded. "Okay, I'll try my best." You pulled twice more, feeling your arm ache with exhaustion. The moment you let go, you whispered, "Now." Zhao Xinqing reacted instantly, grabbing the bow drill from the other side. Mimicking your movements, she continued to work it back and forth. The chat was a little confused. Still no good? With that much smoke, you're not about to start a forest fire, are you? Hey, you guys who commented earlier, shut up. Pay attention and learn something. On screen, you showed no signs of stopping at all. When Zhao Xinqing's strength gave out, you immediately took over again, continuing to work the bow drill with your slightly recovered arm. After trading off with Zhao Xinqing a couple more times, you finally lifted the bow drill and the spindle. At that moment, all 120,000 viewers in the stream stared, wide-eyed, at the notch in the fireboard. There, in the notch, a single, dark red ember was quietly glowing. Thin trails of smoke rose from it. "Yes, there's fire. We have fire." Zhao Xinqing let out a suppressed shriek. The sound just burst from her throat. Ever since getting her first doctorate, she hadn't felt this kind of excitement. The bullet comments erupted in celebration as well. "Holy crap, that's insane. Something even Ed and Bear wouldn't dare to do. Was pulled off by a rich kid." You were just as excited, but you had no time to celebrate. With extreme care, you tipped the ember from the fireboard's notch onto a piece of dry coconut husk. As the tiny ember fell from the notch and landed on the husk, it suddenly dimmed. Everyone's heart skipped a beat. "Oh no, it's not going to go out, is it?" But your expression remained calm as you cupped the coconut husk in your hands, brought it to your face, and gently blew on the faint ember. After you blew on it twice, the ember, which had started to fade, began to glow brightly again. Tiny sparks danced and scattered across the husk with each breath, finally igniting the tinder's dry fibers. A thick plume of smoke rose from the husk in your hands. Seeing this, you seized the moment and quickly blew a couple more times. A soft whoosh came from the coconut husk. A tiny flame flickered to life, engulfing the husk. Zhao Xinqing had already prepared a small pile of dry twigs and dead leaves on a flat, dry rock, just waiting for the fire you held in your hands to ignite it. You gently placed the burning coconut husk next to the small pile of kindling. The flames quickly caught, and the orange-red fire grew visibly larger. You and Zhao Xinqing could both feel the wave of heat on your faces. Just as you placed 2 pieces of firewood into the fire and were about to breathe a sigh of relief, you suddenly heard Zhao Xinqing whisper, "Hey, why is the fire getting smaller?" You looked closely and saw that where you had put the 2 pieces of wood into the flames, the fire had instantly shrunk by half. Thick smoke was now billowing up from the firewood, and it was obvious the wood itself hadn't caught fire. Your heart sank as you frowned and sighed, "Is it still no good? The firewood's too damp. Maybe we should just give up. It's almost impossible to start a fire when it's this humid. We've done every step as best as we can. If the wood is unusable, then there's nothing we can do." "Wait, I have an idea. Blow on it a few more times." Zhao Xinqing suddenly jumped up and rushed frantically toward the small woods where they had looked for firewood earlier. You were stunned for a moment, then quickly lowered your head to blow on the fire. With the sudden increase in airflow, the flame, which was about to go out, flared up a bit larger, as if in a final burst of life. But blowing on it was just a temporary fix. If the firewood couldn't catch, just blowing on it wouldn't last long before it died out anyway. As you blew, you glanced up at Zhao Xinqing's retreating back. You saw Zhao Xinqing pick something up off the ground and immediately turn back. Before you could see clearly what she had picked up, she placed a ping-pong ball-sized round object into the embers. The moment this round object entered the fire, the already precarious embers were disturbed by the impact and almost went out completely. But in the very next moment, a bright flame shot up directly from that round object, burning fiercely. As it burned, waves of a fresh fragrance wafted from the flames. Zhao Xinqing tossed in another 3 small balls, and the flame grew even larger. At last, those 2 pieces of wood that were previously just letting off thick smoke and refusing to light finally had all their moisture dried out. They started making a crackling sound, and began to burn in the flames. What kind of sorcery is this? No magic in front of muggles. Zhao Xinqing, are you a witch? Equally puzzled, you looked down at the roaring flames and asked, "What is this stuff?" Zhao Xinqing giggled and said, "This is resin from a black locust tree. I noticed the tree earlier when I was gathering firewood. Resin is an excellent fire starter. It burns intensely when it meets an open flame." You exclaimed in genuine admiration, "That's incredible. Knowledge is power, that saying is really true." The bullet comments went crazy, flooding the screen with 666. "Seriously, of all the streams I've watched today, these 2 have the best teamwork. I'm crying, Dr. Zhao is such a treasure. I'm going to go study botany in the future." Seeing that the fire was now stable, you told Zhao Xinqing to watch the fire, while you took the bamboo pit viper and the rat back to the river. You used a sharp rock to cut open the abdominal cavities of both animals. Of all the internal organs, you only kept the rat's heart. Just then, a question appeared in the bullet comments. "Can't you keep the organs for fishing bait? What a waste." You nodded, holding up the rat's heart and said, "Keeping this for bait is enough. Any more would be pointless. Too strong a smell of blood could easily attract other creatures." After a quick rinse, you carried the rat and the bamboo pit viper back to the camp. Zhao Xinqing had already picked a large handful of berries and placed them on a piece of fresh bark. She had also found 2 sharply pointed branches from somewhere. Seeing you return with dinner, Zhao Xinqing waved the branches in her hand and gave a sweet smile. "I even prepared the skewers for grilling." But you shook your head and said, "We can't grill it like that. We have to bake it in the earth." Then you dug a pit in the ground and wrapped the rat and the bamboo pit viper into 2 separate bundles with palm leaves, placing them inside. You then covered them with a thin layer of loose soil. After that, you moved the fire directly on top of the pit. As you worked, you explained, "Grilling heats things very unevenly. Sometimes the legs are burnt while the belly is still raw. Sometimes the skin is charred, but the meat inside is still bloody. Eating wild animals isn't like eating farmed cattle or sheep. The heat has to penetrate all the tissue completely to kill any bacteria and parasites. We don't have a pot, so we can't stew it. Our only option is to bake it underground. It will take at least 3 hours to cook through. Let's build a shelter for now." Soon, you had sent Zhao Xinqing into the small grove to continue looking for vines, while you cleared a space between several small trees with your feet, sweeping away the accumulated dead branches and fallen leaves on the ground. These small trees were about a meter apart from each other, only a few meters from the fire, and about a dozen meters from the small grove where Zhao Xinqing was looking for vines. Is he planning to set up camp here? These small trees are really in the way. What's he going to do? You cleared the dead branches and leaves from the area, then got up to pick some broad-leafed palm fronds. After doing this, you placed 2 coconuts by the fire, planning to use the heat to boil the water inside. Before long, Zhao Xinqing returned, carrying 2 tough, thick vines in her hand. "So, what's the plan now?" The viewers in the live chat were on the edge of their seats, typing furiously. "Hurry up and tell us. How are you going to build a camp with just a few vines?" Seeing this, you pointed to the small trees where you had just cleared the ground and said, "We'll use the vines to tie these trees together, making the flexible trunks bend to form a dome. Then we just cover it with palm leaves, and that's it." With your explanation, everyone quickly Understood your plan for the camp. What the hell? Are you serious? That's way too basic. If you're just going to phone it in like this, you're making things really difficult for us fans. Zhao Xinqing, however, had no objections and immediately started working with you. She had been walking with you all day and was completely exhausted, both physically and mentally. She really needed a proper rest. Whether the camp looked good or not really didn't matter anymore. In just 2 or 3 short minutes, the small trees were tied together by you and Zhao Xinqing, their tops pulled tightly together. The lower trunks spread outwards, propping up a small, narrow space. After casually throwing the palm leaves on top, the small treehouse was complete. It was less like a small den and more like a bedroll. The cramped space underneath the leaves was just big enough for 2 people to lie down pressed close together. It would even be difficult to turn over. During the few minutes it took to build, the live chat was constantly flaming you. They thought that with such a simple camp, you'd definitely run into a series of troubles at night, like wolves, snakes, rats, ants, centipedes, and grasshoppers. But when the small treehouse was actually finished, the live chat fell into a strange, collective silence. A rare moment of quiet appeared on the screens of both live streams. After a few seconds of silence, the comments started praising your ingenuity and courage. This freaking treehouse. If it were an inch narrower, Zhao Xinqing would have to sleep separately from him. An inch wider, and she wouldn't have to sleep in his arms. This rich kid is so damn clever. This is definitely a premeditated move. Seeing the comments get more and more ridiculous, you simply turned off the tablet. With a dry laugh, you walked over to the fire and said, "Come sit down, have some water, and rest for a bit." Zhao Xinqing nodded with a blush and took small steps over to sit down beside you. The water inside the coconut shells had now been boiled. The 2 of you waited a little longer to make sure there were no germs left, and only then did you each begin to take small sips. Building this treehouse camp didn't take the 2 of you very long. However, starting the fire from scratch and preparing the materials had taken nearly 2 hours altogether. It was now 6 o'clock in the evening, and the sky had darkened without you realizing it. Surrounded by the small grove, the moonlight seemed very hazy. The orange-red glow of the fire cast your and Zhao Xinqing's shadows long on the ground. The fire crackled softly. The heat it gave off drove away the mosquitoes, creating a peaceful and quiet area for the 2 of you. You and Zhao Xinqing sat idly by the fire, having drunk your fill of hot water. Fatigue and hunger now washed over the 2 of you without any distractions. Zhao Xinqing swallowed, looking at the slightly raised mound of dirt beneath the fire, and asked, "Is it not ready yet?" A bamboo pit viper and a large were still smoldering under the fire. You grab a handful of the berries Zhao Xinqing had picked earlier, hand half to her, and shake your head. "No, we can't rush this. We'll be fine even if we go hungry for a few days. But if we get an upset stomach, it'll be really hard to pull through." Zhao Xinqing stared longingly at the fire, one by one, putting the berries into her mouth and chewing. You, however, just tossed a whole handful into your mouth, swallowing them down in a few gulps. Seeing this, Zhao Xinqing gave you a helpless pat and whispered, "You have to chew them properly. Eating like that is such a waste." She had noticed on the way that you had a pretty rough way of eating berries, but she never found the right time to say anything. You paused for a second, then said, "It's not like we're short on food." Even though both streamers had an unspoken agreement to ignore the live comments, the chat immediately started backing you up. "Yeah, that's right. A snake and that big lizard, the 2 of them probably can't even finish all that in one sitting. A few berries like this are nothing, just eat them however." While that might be true, these were picked by Dr. Zhao herself. You should at least savor them properly. The chat was still lost in their teasing, but Zhao Xinqing shook her head seriously. "That's not it. We can get plenty of protein and a small amount of fat from the animals we hunt. But it's very difficult for us to get carbohydrates you know, starches and sugars. And other micronutrients. The human body is more complex than that of other animals. But that means it has a lot more needs. If even one of those isn't met, it can easily lead to a total collapse of your bodily functions. These berries might not seem like much, but they actually provide us with the minimum carbohydrates, vitamins, and micronutrients we need. When you eat berries like that, you probably only absorb a fourth or even a fifth of the nutrients I do. It's a huge waste." Suddenly, a flood of question marks filled the chat. Wait, weren't they just having a romantic moment? Why is Professor Zhao suddenly giving a lecture? You listened to Zhao Xinqing, stunned for a moment, then nodded in realization. That makes sense. You followed her example, popping the berries into your mouth one by one and chewing them thoroughly. By 8 or 9 o'clock that evening, Zhao Xinqing was so sleepy she was dozing off by the fire, her head nodding onto your shoulder several times. That's when you moved the fire aside and dug out the steaming dinner from beneath the embers. After 3 hours of slow cooking from the heat of the fire above, the bamboo pit viper and the large lizard were so tender they were dripping with juices. The rich, meaty aroma wafted up from the fire. Zhao Xinqing instantly perked up, her eyes wide. Her beautiful eyes sparkled with anticipation. You then tore off half of the snake and handed it to her. Zhao Xinqing was starving and immediately took a big bite of the steaming hot snake meat. The wonderful flavor created by the combination of cooked proteins and amino acids instantly exploded on her taste buds. She let out a long sigh of satisfaction, her beautiful eyes curving into two crescent moons. This is so good. The bamboo pit viper didn't have any extra seasoning, but its flavor came from the freshness of the meat itself. The palm leaves wrapped around it also added a light, fresh aroma to the meat. All in all, it was quite delicious. And because it was slow cooked, the skin of both animals wasn't charred or bitter. In a survival situation like this, you couldn't ask for anything more. After the two of you finished the viper and the lizard, the atmosphere by the fire grew awkward again. Zhao Xinqing was blushing and didn't dare to look at you, staring blankly at the ground in front of her feet. Meanwhile, the chat in both live streams started stirring the pot again. Dinner's over, time for bed. We petition in blood for them to sleep together. Neither you nor Zhao Xinqing had looked at the comments for a while, but you both knew exactly what the live chat was like at that moment. Finally, you added a couple of branches to the fire, cleared your throat, and said softly, "It's getting late. We should get some sleep."